So I'm Shilpi from the Unhotel Company, and welcome to the Farm Talk series. We have two very interesting people today sitting with me. We have Rajesh Ramakrishnan, who is Managing Director, Perfetti India, and we have Arman Sood from a very interesting company called Sleepy Owl. And Arman is going to tell us a little more about what Sleepy Owl is into, because Perfetti doesn't require introduction, but Sleepy Owl does.
So Sleepy Owl is a young coffee company. We started about 4 years ago and pioneered cold brew coffee in India. We were one of the first companies to actually bring cold brew coffee in retail format onto shelves in Indian stores. You know, in today's day and age, we had to balance between direct to consumer, which is using our own website and Amazon to sell to customers. And then gradually we innovated and developed products based on customer feedback. So now we have an omni-channel presence with a cold brew coffee, a hot brew coffee, and a ready to drink product that we're enjoying here right now.
Awesome, perfect for somebody like me who would just like to drink it out of the bottle out there. So when we were talking, Arman, you kind of said that you grew up on Center Fresh and Center Shaw, which are from the family of Perfetti. So is there something which you would want to ask Rajesh? Something which, one trait of theirs which you think Sleepy Owl should have?
Interesting. So, you know, I think as a big company, right, I feel like Perfetti is a company that has actually innovated continuously and launched very interesting products. Like, for example, I was telling Rajesh back in the day when I was a kid, I still remember and relate to Center Shock. It had a lifelong impact, right? The marketing around that product. How, while being such a big company, you still innovate in the fashion you do. And that's something, you know, we want to be able to do as we grow as well.
You know, Perfetti has been in India for about 25 years now. We celebrated our 25th anniversary last year. I think interesting thing about Perfetti, which is what keeps me going in the company, is that we are able to balance between being a global company. I mean, we are present in about 150 countries, but yet having a very strong pulse on the local consumer, and therefore being able to balance between the two, right? So I think that's the first piece, which is, are you able to leverage some of your global strengths, but yet be locally rooted so that you're able to sort of get the insights and then tap into those insights, right? So that's one. So just on the product, since you spoke about that, I mean, our first Center Fresh product, which came out 25 years ago, was India's first liquid filled gum. If you look at Alpenliebe candy, it was the first deposited candy. So I think the endeavor has always been that, look, sometimes the consumer doesn't even know what he or she wants. Correct. So one is to know consumers' need and satisfy that. But the bigger kick lies in anticipating consumer needs and trying to satisfy that.
We meet a lot of interesting founders and startup founders in Gurgaon. What would be something that you would like to take away from Sleepy Owl?
I think, I mean, even for established companies, there's a lot to learn from, you know, startups. And one of the interesting things to, I mean, I would be curious to hear is, you know, in a startup environment, I think you have the freedom to, you know, try out a few things, right? And therefore learn from it. So one is, how do you go about, you know, product development? And the second is, how do you keep employees engaged? Because it's not an easy phase.
So I'd like to answer that question in two parts. First, the product development side. My co-founders and I were bankers and lawyers. We're not from the food and beverage background, right? So when it comes to product development, first question that we like to ask is, will we have it? Is this something that, you know, me and my friend circle, would we consume it? And when the products are made, all the testing and sampling is done by friends and family. You know, we don't have big budgets that allow for doing mass sample sizes or mass testing of the products to see exactly what works out. We go direct to consumer. We sell products on our website, get feedback from customers, and when it's validated, we push it to the retail stores. So that's the strategy that we follow. We launch everything first direct to consumer and then take it into retail. So it's a step-by-step process.
How much does a structure and hierarchy in today's time are still important in big organization like yours?
So my belief is that you of course need systems, processes, structures, but those need to act as enablers rather than bottlenecks. And I think that's the most important thing, because there are companies and there are, I mean, government is a great example where you have a structure, but that just, you know, limits and completely cuts away any kind of innovation. So at least in Perfetti, one of the things is that there is a huge entrepreneurial streak which is there. And like I said, innovation is part of our DNA. So which really allows people to experiment. And I think the important thing is try experimenting, learn from those experiments. If you have to fail, you fail, but fail fast.
Especially a lot of millennials, you kind of want to hire them.
They get bored with structures.
Yes, they get bored with structures, and therefore they get interested in working with maybe startup community.
Exactly, yeah.
But at the same time, I think startup communities would have their own challenge of attracting good talent, because
Correct.
the salaries, the job stability is something which maybe a bigger organization is able to offer compared to what startups can offer. So what do you have to say for that?
So I'd agree with Rajesh when he says that structures, processes and systems are not meant to be bottlenecks but enablers, right? So even though we're a small organization with say 15 people, we have systems and structures in place. We have processes in place, checklists in place, right? But we always try and ensure that those don't become bottlenecks because you want to move fast. You want to fail fast.
I think hiring is tough in startups because
It is extremely tough. A lot of people are lured towards it because they believe that the environment will be exciting or it's fun. Usually it's more stressful than a 9 to 5. There's no 9 to 5.
there's no cut-off time.
There's no cut-off time. You're working longer hours, harder, for a lesser pay. You choose to be there because you believe that there'll be a lot more you can do and give to the organization. You get to do a lot more and get your hands dirty in a lot more places. You're not bound by what your job description is.
How would you describe work-life balance today?
I would slightly redefine it to say it's not so much work-life balance, but it is balance, right? Are you able to balance in such a way that you have fun while you're working and you have fun doing other stuff also? If you have a passion, and I'm sure you relate to it, which is that having a passion about what you do itself is what gives you that energy to do your work, right? One of my passions is photography, or another passion is fitness. It's all about then making choices.
I would agree with Rajesh when he says that because, I think again, when you're young and say inexperienced starting a business like this, right? I remember the early months and years, while of course it required that extra time, energy and hard work, I very intentionally, personally speaking, neglected say fitness or food. Now, I made significant changes towards actually ensuring that you have to get your workout in, you have to make your food at home.
And just to add to that, I think one of the interesting things I found is that, through the day, you do stuff which sucks out your energy. And what a passion does is it replenishes energy.
Correct.
So you need to maintain that energy equilibrium. And like you say, you go work out for an hour, you come back charged.
When you plan to do something of your own, you don't know how it's going to pan out, when it's going to
Correct.
pan out. So there's a lot of risk involved in it. So how do you see in an organization like yours, how adept are people at taking risk, a part of the value culture, or is it something which is picking up slowly?
Yeah. See, I think risk taking, for example, needs to be a part of the culture. Right? So the employees in the organization should feel that, look, I can go and try new things, without having to worry about the consequences of it.
See, I think when someone joins a startup, say assuming you have worked in an MNC before and you are joining a startup, right? That's a big change in someone's career trajectory. Like in most cases, we're hiring people elder to us, right? Who have worked in other organizations, Take the example right now, we hired someone for our warehouse and supply chain who has worked at Amazon, who has worked at other 3PL companies. So for him, just the fact that he's moving away from those organizations to 3PL is already a risk. So that in itself shows his risk-taking ability. We do look at hiring people who have certain amount of risk-taking ability. But beyond that, we also like to hire freshers. So what we do is we actually have a very interesting. We do a lot of internship programs where we get first, second and third year students to intern with us for the summer, and we really give them a lot of responsibility, right? And our objective is to groom them and shape them to want to come back to our organization.
That's fantastic.
So when they graduate their university at 21 or 22, they join Sleepy Owl. So
That's so good.
we take them fresh, and that's when I feel like people are very, very hungry to learn and grow. And having interned with us, they already have a fair idea of the culture, the kind of work that is involved.
So they're better prepared.
And they're better prepared.
How important it is in the initial stage for a startup to focus more on product and how to kind of make sure that there is enough which is happening on product and brand. We've seen a lot of startups are focusing a lot on brand building, but the product sucks. And sometimes the products are good, but there's not enough visibility.
Sure.
So where do we decide which is more important and that we're doing it the right way?
So, I think it goes hand in hand. You can't, as a business, focus on one and not the other and expect to go places. So I remember when we launched our first product, right? The goal was to make a fantastic product, right? So we had a great product, but we knew we had a good product, right? The customer doesn't know that yet. But we had to make our branding and packaging attractive and our communication attractive, so that in today's day and age, where there's so much noise on the internet, getting someone's attention is very, very difficult. We're living in the scroll era. So we had to make something that really stood out in terms of brand and packaging, because we realized that is what would lead to people to try the product. So you buy it because it's well branded and well packaged, but once you consume it, you only spread the word about it if it's good. So both have to work in sync. You can't do one and not the other.
What's your point on this?
No, I think for any business to run, in my view, there are 4 fundamental pillars, right? One is innovative, differentiated products, right? Without that, there is no starting point. The second is, are you able to build iconic brands for yourself, right? And are you able to, over a period of time, build brands which are really strong brands? The third is available at arm's reach. They say, "Jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai." If I don't see the product, then I don't pick it up, right? Correct. And the last but not the least is passionate people who drive it. So to me, these are 4 fundamental building blocks of any business. And I agree with Arman, which is that, the product and the brand go hand in hand. So if I take an example of like a Center Fresh or a Happy Dent, right? These are products which like I mentioned earlier, are innovative, first to the market kind of products. But what also makes them what they are of course the kind of packaging, the kind of communication that you do around it. And I think the important point is to keep it consistent over a period of time.
When you came in and we were having a chat that you're not selling coffee, you're selling convenience.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, I happened to mention that.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, it's in that direction.
It's not the product; it's the feeling that the consumer gets when they're using your product or enjoying your services. So yeah, we are trying to move beyond just coffee, but selling the idea of convenience to our customers. That with us, life's easy.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I have one last question for you, Arman. It's a hypothetical question.
Okay.
That if Rajesh was a VC sitting here and you wanted him to invest in Sleepy Owl and maybe join Sleepy Owl, what would your pitch be?
Okay. That's interesting. So I think the pitch would be different if I were requesting for money as an investor, and different if I were getting Rajesh to join. And I think in this situation, it reminds me of a quote. Money is not as important as the strategy, advice, and guidance that comes along with it. So having interacted with Rajesh now, I don't think for me money would be what I would want from Rajesh. His leadership experience, having transformed a big company like Perfetti, that's what I'm more excited about. And my pitch would be, Sleepy Owl is here to take Nestle down. Would you like to join us?
It's okay. We are in a democratic world.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I think it was wonderful chatting up. I hope both of you enjoyed having this conversation.
Absolutely.
At Junoon Farm Stay. And this is the first of the Farm Talk series that we are having. We would love to have more CEOs, more startups come and experience this kind of conversation, and maybe over a year do a culmination with all of you coming and exchanging your thought processes there.
That would be fantastic. Thanks for having us over.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So thank you for being with us, Arman and Rajesh, in the first Farm Talk series at Junoon Farm Stays. We are going to have many more such conversations out there, so watch out for more such conversations. Reach out to us if you know of a CEO, if you know of a startup who would love to join these conversations. We would love to have them at our farm stays.